On the design team for JustPeace was a man named Ron Crable, who was a professor at Eastern Mennonite University, a person who spent 8 years in South Africa helping with the peace accords, but also had started the Mennonite Conciliation Service. And he told us the story of how he went to two Methodists back in the 70s when he was leaving seminary to ask for advice on how to set up this conciliation service. The two men were Jim Lowy and John Adams. Jim Lowy had done a lot of mediations during the days of civil rights and had started the school at George Mason University, the Conflict Transformations school there. John Adams had worked for Board of Church and Society in the United Methodist Church and had mediated at Kent State and at Reed. And both of them gave him the same piece of advice. They both said, "We love your theology of peace. But you need more than the theology, you need skills." And we have worked on that because we do believe that you need to develop skills so you're well prepared to deal with conflict as you try to engage it constructively. We worked with 4 primary skills, what we call spiritual practices. The first is listening, and the image, one of the key images for us is a Chinese image which brings together the ears, the eyes, and the heart. It's important to hear and to understand. It's important to be attentive, although we understand that we need to be culturally sensitive because in different cultures, staring one in the eyes, looking one in the eyes is not seen as respectful. But we know that the eyes are a symbol for being attentive, and however your culture leads you to be attentive. But the most important one is the heart. You can learn all the skills of paraphrasing and reframing and all the skills of this work. But if you don't care about the other person's story, the other person will know. So it's ultimately about a deep curiosity, a deep caring for the other story. Speaking is important. Speaking the truth in love is important. We've learned over and over again the power and importance of stories. People being able to tell their stories with all the emotions in a place where people truly listen. And we've learned that Longfellow was right. If we knew the secret history of our enemies, we would see so much suffering that all hostility would cease. We need to hear each other's stories. We need to find places where people can tell their stories and they can be heard. We also need imagination, which is probably the thing most missing in our life today, not only in the world, but in the church as well. Imagination is what unleashes our creativity. Theologically, it's based in a creator God, a barrier-breaking Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, which leads us to places and ideas that we never thought possible. Leads us to experience at Pentecost and the awe and wonder of the newness of that day. Finally, we believe that forgiveness is something that we need to learn how to practice. I've heard a lot of sermons on forgiveness. I really first began to see it truly in the life of people in South Africa. And I began to learn that without forgiveness, there's no future. Bishop Tutu told us this. It's the only way to break out of the cycles of violence and retribution. And Greg Jones, the Dean of Duke Divinity School, taught us that it's a craft we can learn. And perhaps someday we can be like the Amish, who after a shooting in their school, the young members of their community were killed, spontaneously, without any coordination, individually went to the house of the parents of the young man who did this to engage them and to let them know that they were on a journey of forgiveness with them. Powerful. Now these are spiritual practices. These are life skills. There are others, but these are the ones that we feel are essential to the practice of just peace, but also creating a culture of just peace in this world.